everyone. So here we are. This is another one of our weekly chats. I'm talking here with Jerry. Thanks for jumping in. And last week we talked a little bit about melody playing. My goal was to come back to that tonight, but I didn't get the remake video made. I actually have it shot but not edited. So I didn't want to pour more gasoline on the fire of melody playing until we got that first lesson back out into the open. So tonight, I thought a nice little thing to work on that we could squeeze into a 5-minute lesson would be this notion of the triplet strum. Jerry, you were just saying that you've seen it and tried it from our friend Rachel.
Yeah, but only back then. I haven't followed up.
Yeah, well, it's a real old-fashioned style strum most of the time, and yet even in modern songs, I find myself using this triplet strum, which I'll demonstrate in just a second. In fact, I'll demonstrate it now, and then I'll show you how I use it in modern songs too. It's this sound. It's triplet, triplet, triplet. Now, in our uke club exercises, the triplet shows up a lot.
Right.
And a lot of the time, you can get away with playing it with down, up, down. Triplet, triplet, triplet. The trouble with that is you have to reconfigure what's happening each time you do it because it's an uneven number. So your first triplet is going to be down, up, down, and you see where you end up? Your next triplet is going to have to be up, down, up. So it gets confusing very quickly because of the odd number. Every other triplet is going to be going in the opposite direction. It's also slow, so you can only do that so quickly. With this version that I'm going to show you of the triplet strum, you can bring it up to crazy speed if you put some practice into it. And that's nothing. There are people that can blow that kind of speed out of the water. And I've got cold little Massachusetts hands right now, so I'm going slow for me too. The other advantage of this is that it works into an overall strum pattern quite nicely. In fact, very rarely would I use the triplet on its own. I tend to throw it in, so you're strumming along. And there, you heard it? Drop one in.
Yeah.
Now I'm keeping it boring. I'm not changing chords or anything. We'll just focus on right-hand technique. So when it happens that quickly, it's a triplet. Triplet strum, triplet strum, triplet strum, triplet strum. And I really am going to break it apart. I feel like I'm teasing, but I really am. But you can slow it down, and it would sort of take the place of just a time where you might do a fast down-up strum. So even though I am inclined to throw it into songs, you know, those old 1920s fast ha-cha-cha songs. 5, 4, 2, because it just gives such a bounce to it when it's up to speed. But you can use it in other style songs at a slower mode, and it works just as well. And doesn't even feel like a triplet in that sense anymore. Here's how to do it. All right, Jerry, you're like Ed McMahon today, all right? Are you with me?
Of course, so Johnny.
What are you going to do? I'm going to hold a C chord. A lot of times I have you practice these just with muted strings. That's fine too. But for the sake of discussion right now, we'll do it on a C chord. Jerry and I were talking before we started recording. This is the sort of thing that, I promise you probably aren't going to get first time you try it. This is much more like a juggling trick than a logical up-down strum. And what I mean by that is you've got to practice, practice, drop, drop. And after you've dropped about 100 times, suddenly something will click. It will sort of make sense, and you can do it. Once in a blue moon, you may be able to do it on your first try. So here's the thing. Remember the universal master strum that I swore we would never deviate from? We're going to deviate from it now. So the universal strum tells us that for every down, there is an up, down, up, down, up. I'm watching myself on screen, and there's a little bit of a lag, and it's very disconcerting because I'm saying down and moving down, and then I see myself on screen, and I haven't quite caught up with myself. All right. So that's the universal strum, down, up, and that within that, you have the choice of hitting the strings or not hitting the strings, but that every pattern is based on that down, up. Here's the exception with the triplet strum, and I tend to call it the triplet strum because I use that as my mnemonic. Triplet, triplet, triplet. Sort of keeps me on track. So we are going to break the rules right now, and instead of having down, up, we're actually going to squeeze two downs, two small downs, into the larger big down movement. All right, excuse me for just a second. All right, here's what we've got. The big down is this, down across the strings, down. Here I'm using the back of my fingernails. There are other ways to do it, but I'm just going to tell you the most common way that I do it. Nails across the strings. All right. Now, instead of shooting past the strings the way you could do the regular down up strum, that's part one of our triplet. So it's a three-step process. Trip. That's trip. Fingers down across the strings. Here's the gimmick right here. Followed by thumb. So you're breaking your down strum up to the half strums. So it's down, down. And it has to be without any up in between. It completely breaks the rules of the universal strum. So that's triple, triple. And it's like you're creating two big picks. Your fingers are one pick, your thumb is another pick. And they go down to as a big unit, but with individual picks within that big swing down. Now, when I slow it down that much, you're detecting a pause that wouldn't occur when you really do it. Now, let me show you the third step, and I think it will feel a little more logical. Jerry, you with me so far?
So far.
Okay. So that's triple, and we need the triplet, and that's going to be the up. Hear it? Triplet. So down, down, up. And now I'm saying down, down. Don't get confused with the universal strum, which says between two downs there's an up. In this case, no. It's truly down, down, up. Triplet, 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 triplet. Now, the last step is I almost always follow it up with a regular down strum. Triplet down, triplet down. That lets you sort of collect your wits, get your feet back on the ground, and reassess where you are within the regular strum. So, triplet strum, triplet strum, triplet strum, triplet strum. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the triplet, you squeeze three notes into the space of two. That's what gives it such a distinctive sound. Triplet down, triplet. So let me demonstrate one other way. I'll get going on just a regular 1, 2, 3, 4 strum and then transfer into the triplet so you can sort of contrast and compare. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's a regular strum we would do all the time. 1, 2, 3, 4. Triplet, 3, 4. Triplet, 2, 3, 4. Triplet, 2, 3, 4. Triplet, 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 3, 4. Triplet, triplet, 4. So the triplet occupies the space of a standard down. You could replace any of your down beats with the triplet. And that's it. That's the triplet strum. I'm hearing it.
Thank you.
I'm hearing it, Jerry. right there, just like that.
Yeah, I just have to work on it.
Yeah, that's the thing. And for everybody, really, don't feel like this is something you're going to pick up in a snap. You might, if you're lucky, but I've never seen anyone do it. It's a lot to keep track of, but it's very fun. And when you're playing a song up to speed and you get to suddenly throw it in, it really catches the ear by surprise. It also kind of looks cool, I think. Now, just because I want to be thorough, I'm not going to show you the 3 other ways that I know to do a triplet, and there's probably 10 other ways to do a triplet. But just know that there are other ways to do it. So you might find other teachers showing you completely different ways to achieve a very similar sound. But for now, I think that's a great jumping off point for really, I think, useful trick to throw into your repertoire.
Oh, come on, just show them once. You don't have to teach them.
Well, let me show you one other. I've never been very good at this because I've been so happy with the method that I've learned.
Sure.
Great setup, Jerry. Thanks. Another way that I've learned to do it is, I can't do this one up to speed. There's a guy called Little Rev who is a great performer and a great teacher who travels around. And the way he does it is, so it's up, up, down, up, down. And he can do it like a machine gun. It's so rapid fire, so fast. And I've seen other people do it that way, but I've never practiced it to really work it out and get it.
And what's another one?
Stop.
Do you know how
is just to play it in. That's kind of what I talked about at the beginning that I tend not to do. Where you just do it with your down up strum. But if you say it and play it, as we sometimes talk about, 1 triplet down, triplet 1, triplet down, triplet down, triplet down. But to me, that's harder because there's more to keep track of. To me, this is the simplest, the way I showed you today is the simplest way to get consistent results, because no matter where you play it in the strum, you play it the same way. And I feel like it most naturally fits with the way you're doing a strum anyway.
Okay. So. Then one question.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
How did, do you know how Ukulele Ike or Fred Fallon do it?
Ukulele Ike, I've actually watched some of his videos and tried to pick up on it. And no, I don't. I was thinking of a roll. And Ukulele Ike drives me insane. For those who don't know, Ukulele Ike is a historical player from the 20s and 30s,
Cliff Edwards.
40s and 50s. Real hot dog, great performer, great singer, and excellent choice of song material, in my opinion. So a very worthwhile guy to know about in the ukulele world. But he does some really nice stuff that I've tried to analyze. He does these rolls, which are sort of related to a triplet in that it's 2 motions as part of the down. Roll followed by the thumb. So you see how you sort of get that same feeling of down, down, all within one big downstroke. And Ukulele Ike does a reverse roll where he rolls up over the strings. And again, that's just not one that I've worked on. So he rolls down and rolls back up.
That's got to be his hand.
What? Say it again?
That's got to be his hand. I mean, there were some players, on any instrument, because of their hands, for various reasons, are able to do things that other mere mortals can't.
Well, you know, this is going to make me sound like such a dorky teenager, but I was a dorky teenager, and I was into sleight of hand and magic. I mean, really, seriously, I loved it. And I use, like juggling references for playing ukulele, because I remember, there were guys that could do stuff with a deck of cards that was impossible. And it wasn't impossible in the sense that you felt like, oh, I'm watching magic. There's magic happening. You knew it was mathematical or a physical skill. And that's what they wanted you to know. It wasn't, they were trying to impress you with their technical prowess. And as a 15-year-old, I would study with these guys, and I learned a certain amount of that technique. And I knew as a teenager that yes, what you're saying is absolutely true. There are some people that can just do stuff and other people who can't. But I also learned the flip side of that, which is
Sure.
spend 6 hours, in your mom's
Yep.
basement with a deck
Yep.
of cards, and you'd be shocked at the amount of progress that you can make. And I
Right.
think it's the same with the ukulele. And the trick is, we're all adults, as I say many a time. We don't have 6 hours a day to commit to this, most of us. And that's why the best ukulele player that you're ever going to come across is going to be a 14-year-old kid who just sits around and does it and does it. And that's why heavy metal bands are made up of 18-year-olds or 50-year-olds that started when they were 14. So
Yep.
So
Well, thank you for the private lesson.
thanks for jumping in, Jerry. It's great to have some company here. I would have felt terrible by myself. Actually, I wouldn't. I'm used to shooting these videos. But I'm going to stop the recording, say thanks for everybody who's watching this in reruns, and thank you, Jerry, for jumping in. And,
Thank you.
We're scheduled for next week again, so I'll talk to you then, okay?
Okay. What do you know when it's going to be next week?
1 day and 1 hour later, so that's going to be Thursday at 6.
Oh, okay.
If you look at it on the calendar, it just moves diagonally across the month because I'm trying to shift it back one day and 1 hour. So we'll make the circumnavigation of the globe so everybody hopefully can tune in at some point.
We gonna do this at 3 a.m. someday, you say?
Well, that's the thing. I've got to work it out so I can at least get a little bit of rest at the same time.
Okay.
So, all right. I'm going to say goodbye to everyone.